Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by. My name's Mike McNamara. This is Screen Magazine. One of my favorite documentaries of the year, one of the most critically acclaimed docs of the entire year. And if you are a foodie, or hey, if you just love going to a great restaurant every once in a while, you are going to absolutely love this film. It's called For Grace. It was a huge hit out at South by Southwest, and you can see it here in Chicago. It's going to be the opening night film on Tuesday, February 2nd, actually for the film festival that I run, the Midwest Independent Film Festival. And Tuesday, February 2nd is also an extremely important day for this film. One, it's the opening night film for Midwest Independent Film Festival, but also it's the day of its global digital release, where it is available all over the world on iTunes. So I wanted to share with you this great interview that I had with the co-directors of For Grace while I was out there at South by Southwest for the world premiere. Take a listen to this interview, and then we'll see you at the Midwest Independent Film Festival on Tuesday, February 2nd. And if you're not in Chicago, buy it on iTunes. Wonderful Chicago-made documentary just made its world premiere at South by Southwest Film Festival. I was blown away by this film, so I had to grab these two Chicago filmmakers, pretty new Chicago filmmakers, and chat with them about this film. The documentary is called For Grace, and the co-directors are Kevin Pang and Mark Helenowski. Welcome to Screen.
Hey, Mike. How are you?
Thanks.
Good. So, guys, give me an introduction to For Grace. The one thing, it's a beautiful title, but it doesn't really tell you, what are we getting ourselves into? So,
well, essentially, it's a restaurant movie.
Yeah.
We're seeing a restaurant built from a concrete box to opening night, but then it sort of goes deeper into that because we focus on this Chicago chef named Curtis Duffy, and it's really about his backstory, without giving too much away. He has a rather tragic backstory in his childhood,
right,
and how that one event drove him towards this very singular, laser-like focus towards being one of the best chefs in the world. And so now he has the credential. He's got 3 Michelin stars, which is the highest rating you can get for a chef. And it's a I hate to use the word character study, but it's about him and themes of sacrifice and brotherhood and family through the lens of food.
Yeah, and for those of you guys that haven't heard of Curtis, he is iconic and kind of a self-made chef, and so was trained with Trotter, trained with Grant Achatz, and now we're kind of opening him up and seeing his whole life. So Mark, talk about what led you to this story. Well, how did you get this wonderful opportunity, and what are the stakes that go with, hey, I'm going to kind of crack this guy's life open and bring it to the world?
Yeah, exactly. So Kevin and I, we've known each other for years, and we wanted to work together on something. He heard through the grapevine that Curtis was going to leave the current restaurant that he was at, a 2 Michelin star restaurant, and open up what he hoped to be a 3 Michelin star restaurant, which is the highest honor that anyone can ever have. So Kevin and I kind of talked about this, and at first we were mostly interested, like Kevin said, in the food aspects of it,
right,
in what it means to open up a restaurant at that level.
From scratch,
exactly.
Because usually it's that kind of hyped, kind of networky shit where it's like,
sure, you come in
and they create their own conflicts. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
and when it's like a week away.
Sure, you see a lot of times when like chefs will leave restaurants, other ones will come in, so they have to work within certain constraints.
Right.
Curtis was heavily constrained at his previous restaurant.
Right.
So that was what was most exciting, is to see what it takes to build a restaurant from absolutely nothing all the way to the 3 Michelin star level.
Cool. Guys, we're talking with Mark Helenowski and Kevin Pang, co-directors of For Grace. Just made a huge, sold-out, jam-packed rave review world premiere out at South by Southwest. So, Kevin, how do you approach Curtis? I'm always curious about this because with documentary filmmaking, it's like how'd you get your guy? So how did you approach Curtis, and how'd you get him to say yes?
Well, my in is my day job, which is a food writer of the Chicago Tribune, and so I try to be as well connected as I can.
Remember me, Curtis?
Yeah, right. Well, fortunately, I'm not the type that reviews his type of restaurants.
Okay.
I write about the taco joints, the burger places. So,
right.
I get to talk to these fine dining chefs in a way that the other critic who reviews these sorts of fine dining luxury restaurants doesn't have the, he just can't do that sort of stuff. He's trying to be anonymous. I don't have that problem. So I sat down with him over lunch in Chinatown, and I said, hey, what are you up to? I hear you're opening up your own restaurant, and I thought that, well, maybe I can follow you. And we thought this was going to be, I don't know, 5-6 months, and we might check in with them once a week to film, and then just show maybe the progression of a restaurant. Really sort of low ambition, 15-20 minute film. And sort of part of this was because it just took so long. There were so many delays. We just kept filming and filming and filming, and eventually it became 18 months before the whole thing was built. And by then we were getting into his family life. We were talking about his kids, his backstory. So by then we knew, wow, what a compelling story this guy has. And this was more than just the building of a restaurant, but something that is about a person and how his past informs who he is today.
Totally. And that's, Mark, that's kind of the thing with a documentary, kind of the beauty of it. You never really know when the story's going to end. So how were you able just to negotiate your own life as it's coming from this 10-minute short that we'll probably put on a food site somewhere to this all-encompassing multi-year journey for you guys?
Yeah, so I mean, personally for myself, at the time I was freelance, which helped tremendously because if I wasn't able to, come at noon on a Tuesday with absolutely, no warning,
you lose the story.
Exactly. So we never would have been able to do that. And Kevin working at the Tribune, they gave him, a lot of flexibility to report the story, since he also had an accompanying long-form journalistic written piece that he wrote for the Tribune that kind of parallels the movie.
Cool. So what would you guys say, and I've only got another minute left with you guys, so I'm more curious now of your greatest challenges with the film, aside from the fact that, hey, we didn't know when it was going to end. What was your greatest challenge pulling this story together?
Well, it's mostly the fact that this film, it does not have a crew of 20 people behind it. It does not have any production company. Practically every single shot, every scene that you've seen was filmed, edited, direct, produced, color corrected by the two of us sitting over at the computer.
The two of you guys.
So there was no one else.
And you're still friends. I'm here. You guys are smiling. You guys are your wife, your girlfriends are hanging out over there.
Well, I mean, it's not always easy, and it wasn't always. But that's sort of how we always had.
Made it easier to make decisions. You got to go through two people.
Well, correct, but it was also the idea that it was all in service of the story. I think any sort of disagreements or arguments we had about was always about a decision in the story, whether we wanted this to be cut at a certain frame, whether we wanted music in this section or not. And so we always had this mind, we can cast our egos aside, which can be considerable, but at the end, the story was bigger than both of us, and so we really wanted, this. It was always the story in the film first, and then our differences second.
Cool. Last thing, just to kind of change it up, because I love my last question, just to change it up a little bit. I love my restaurants all over Chicago. Obviously, you guys have been immersed in food for years now. Outside of Grace Curtis's restaurant, what are some places that you love in Chicago? Maybe some that are a little under the radar.
I'll defer this one to Kevin. He'd be the expert here.
Well, I have to dine out. I have to dine out. I mean, that sounds so pretentious, right?
But I have to go eat.
Well, it is, sometimes you have to eat 3-4 times a day to a different restaurant.
You know what? I took a restaurant road trip once, and you think that sounds awesome, but then you get to dinner and you're like, I'm still full, and there's more food. I know, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's every day for me.
So give me a few that are under the radar.
Sure. I love going to Chinatown only because it is cheap. It's never really that busy. It's open late at night.
There's so many damn places, though. What's that one place that you would go to in Chinatown?
So one place I recently wrote about is this place called Xi'an Cuisine, Xian Cuisine, and it serves the food of northern China. It's a little bit different from what you're used to. If you're thinking Chinese food, it's like sweet and sour pork, fried rice, egg rolls. This place does not have any of that. So the food in northern China is more about noodles, about flatbreads, cumin. I mean, there's a considerable amount of Chinese Muslims who live there, so you'll have lamb and mutton as the main protein. But this place called Xi'an Cuisine, basically you have hand-tore noodles with lamb, cumin, lamb, flatbreads. I mean, it's just really delicious. Everything there is under $8, and so I really like that place, Xi'an Cuisine in Chinatown.
Cool. Got one more? Got one more. Give me the burger joint. Give me the burger
Well,
joints.
I really love, I think probably my favorite burger chain in Chicago is this place. Not a lot of people know about, unless you grew up around Calumet City in the southeast part of Chicago. It's called Shoop's, S-H-O SCHOOP apostrophe S. And
heard of that.
it's almost, they've got like 17, 18 locations, Northwest Indiana, Southeast, Orland Park. all
But it
those
started
places.
here.
It started right. And so the type of burgers they have is more like a steak and shake. It's called a smashed style. So
Sure.
the beef is really crispy on the edge. But,
Yeah.
again, it's one of those gigantic burgers you get for $7. And it's like a half-pound burger with bacon, cheese. It's really good. Shoop's Burgers, southeast side of Chicago. It's fantastic.
Awesome. Hey, Kevin, Mark, thanks for stopping by Screen.
Thanks so much.
Thanks
for
so
having
much.
us.
Thanks, Mike.
You got it, guys. That was Kevin Pang and Mark Helenowski. They are the co-directors of For Grace, heading to theaters, laptops, television sets, all in your hood very, very soon. It's an amazing film. I can't wait for you to see it. My name's Mike McNamara. Thanks for stopping by Screen. I'll talk with you again soon.